Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Rural Contractors. I'm your host, Paul Osmondson, and today's topic is estimating process. Do you have an estimating process? And we're talking about bids, quotes, whatever you're going to do. Do you have a process from start to finish of what that process is? Because a lot of us carpenters, we want to go to the job, we want to do all of these things, but we need a process. We need to be able to bring more work into us to keep work in front of us, to keep work in front of our crew, so that we're making money, taking care of our families, taking care of our business, being good stewards of what we have. So in this process, if you've been in business for any length of time, you have a process. If you are just starting in business, you don't have a process for this. You need invoices, you need estimates. I don't care if you call them estimates or quotes. A lot of times for me, I had a bid sheet and then I had an invoice sheet. We're going to talk through the whole process of going to a job site. So whatever product service you do, you might have to go to the job site or you might not have to go to the job site. When I did sheds, these buildings weren't built, so I didn't have to go to the job site, which is very nice because I get the dimensions, I can make it. I eliminated my process of having to go to the job site and measure things up. Now, if I'm adding the shed onto an existing building, I need to go match steel, match colors, figure out roof pitch so that we can continue on the building or whatever we're doing. So if you're doing siding, if you're doing roofing, a lot of these projects, you're going to have to go to the job and physically measure them up. So making a template or a list of questions, and this can be a very simple process to do, is as you go to your next job and you're measuring it up, what are those questions that you're asking them? Hey, while we're doing siding, do you want the soffit replaced? Like, we can make this thing so you don't have to paint it. Do you want your windows wrapped? And I'm not saying you're trying to upsell, but you're trying to inform your customers of, like, timing-wise, they don't know the order of what should be done. Like if you go through and rewrap all of their windows and reside their house, and then the next year they're going to call you up and be like, hey, let's replace our windows. Honestly, we did this backwards. It's informing them of those processes that is the best practice of let's replace the windows, let's do the soffit, let's do it all at one time, and your house is going to look brand new on the outside. Number one, you're giving them the reasons why, and you're not trying to upsell them or whatever, just informing them of the most efficient way to do it is this way with whatever your project is. But they are trusting you as an expert to come in and to tell them what they want. Not what you want for them, but it's getting the information from them for what they want. And it's also, hey, this is something to think about. You know, while we're up there, we got all our ladders set up, we got our lift set up, we're in your yard. Do you want us to install aluminum soffit and fascia? There's these things that it's like, it makes it a little simpler for you than to come back the next year and then do it and take off some siding so you can put the soffit and fascia on. You know, it's those steps that they're not going to know, but you need to inform them. I need to inform them of the things that are options for them. Creating that list of questions so that you're automating it. Like the worst thing that we want is to get home and we're starting to make the material list and we go, oh, I forgot to ask them about this. It makes you look dumb when you have to call them back. If you have a list of questions so that all of these things are getting answered in your one time, that's professional. You know, and especially if people are bidding against other people, you want to look the most professional. You want to be the most professional. How much can you automate some of these things? So maybe you have a sheet and you're just writing down your measurements in that. I would take pictures of a side of a building, and as I measured them, I was throwing the numbers to the side, and I was like, man, I wish there was a software for this. So like my first thing, I was taking pictures, and then I was drawing it out and I was writing these measurements down, and it's like, I'm not a very good drawer. This is taking forever. So Lindsay had Photoshop, so she taught me how to use Photoshop, and then it clicked one day and I was like, man, I wish they had an app for this. And I was like, Snapchat. Oh my goodness. Pull up. Yeah. Probably worked better on an iPad where you had a little bit more room and you could just draw on it, text it, flip them wherever you want. Awesome. But you have all of those measurements, and then I save them to my Google Drive in the folder of that customer. So if they didn't end up doing their siding project and we went 2-3 years down the road, I still have all of those measurements, and they say, hey, let's go ahead, let's go forward. Well, I got to reprice it. You have all of those measurements right there on your Google Drive. Very handy. So that is at the job site, coming up with those questions. So the whole goal of this is systemizing, because right away you're like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. But you're training yourself to do it the same every time so that your system is becoming quicker and quicker, and you know your process and you're shortening the time. For most of us doing construction, we're working on the jobs and then we're fitting in, going and looking at these projects and measuring them up. This is taking time. The average job, we spend 4 hours estimating, and what is your percentage of getting these jobs? Is it 70%? Is it 50%? Is it 25%? So we're spending a lot of time and we're only getting a portion of them. Are we getting paid for this portion? Well, a lot of us break it down hourly and we're not even including that time. So the shorter we make this time, and we have to go out and estimate. I'm not saying you shouldn't go out and estimate, but we want to systemize this process so that it's second nature and it's so easy. I ask this question, this question, this question, and we're not a robot. We're trying to figure out what they want so that we can get them the best result that they want, so that we can provide the value of us doing the work so that they can get what they want. Everybody's happy. I'm making money. I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of my needs. I'm providing value for what they want. That is the job site. We're systemizing that so that we have that down pat and we know our system and we're confident in what we're doing. We're moving to our system of, okay, maybe you're shipping everything off to the lumber yard so that they can make a material list. Well, if I'm using my iPad and Snapchat and I'm taking pictures and I'm writing all these measurements in and I'm uploading it to my Google Drive, I am just sending them the link to the lumberyard guy. I am sending them the link to that Google Drive file with the information that they need, like address of the job, all of these things, the pictures. So they click the link and they go, oh, and they can make a list from there. When I have that information, I can switch that. I can send that to 3 different lumber yards and I can price them, and they have all the information right there. So it's systemizing that part of it. Then it's going to your invoices and your estimates. So do you have a system where, for me personally, I have a sheet that I put name, address, everything, description of the job, and then it's automatically going to go into my invoice and estimate. It's also going to create, when we're doing sheds, it's creating list that is step-by-step instructions for a pole shed. It's already right beside that so that the guys have a checklist of to-do lists as we're doing their project. So these are things that they take time to build out these things, but knowing your system and being able to do it as quickly as you can. Because I don't know how long it used to take me to bid jobs when I would go measure up and do that stuff and make the material list. As I systemized and I made it so people went to my website, they filled out my form, it automatically went from my website to my form, filled everything out. I forwarded that onto the lumberyard and they made me a price from there. And once that price came back, then I already know what my prices are. I know what my price per square foot is for different size buildings. I put that into my sheet and I email them to them. But when we systemize this to eliminate the time that it takes to bid, to we're just getting more efficient at our estimating process, and we're tracking the data so that we know if we're making money, but that's a whole different podcast. But we're making that system so fast that it doesn't take up much of my time. So when somebody goes to my website, fills out a form, the actual work that I do to send them that bid back is 5 minutes of my time. That's awesome. I have made that system so small that it's no big deal to get an estimate out the door. But when it takes so much time, we get hung up and we're like, I'm going to need so much time to do that we push it off. We push it off because it's not for sure money now. But we have to have these jobs continuing to come in so that we can keep work in front of our team members, so that we can keep providing for our families. So we dread it because it takes so much time and we don't have a system. So did I have a mess? Yes, I made a mess of everything that was hopefully going to save me time in the future. But when I knew that process so well, it shaved off time that it does not take me long to bid a project. Same thing when we're on the job. When I mapped out our step-by-step processes to build a shed, when I'm building a shed with two guys that I've built several sheds before, we're continuing to become more and more efficient in the job, which when we bid a project, that makes more money left over at the end of the job to continue on. That's what we're in this business for, is to make money for our family, and we're becoming more efficient and it's making more money. Well, we're wanting to make as much money with the time that we have in 1 year. Estimating. If it used to take me 2 hours, but now it only takes me 5 minutes to estimate a project, I've gained more time to spend wherever I want. For me, that's having experiences with my family. What do you want? How do you systemize your system so that it's so efficient? What is your system? Do you have a system? Spend time and hone your skills and make it even better so that it's not taking up as much of your time. It's not taking your mental load. That's where with a lot of these softwares and setting reminders to follow up with these people, it allows you to not have to keep it at the forefront of your mind of going, hey, I got to call Jim and Bob and see if they want to go with the project. It's like, no, we're just putting it into our CRM and we know that we have to follow up with them in a week, and we just continue to set that timer. Then you have processes after that, but we're talking about your quoting process. Do you have a quoting process? Do you understand the steps that you have? Can you make it more efficient? Can you make it more effective? What are some questions that you're constantly having to ask because you forget to do it in the process and you're making a template of that? Something I thought about doing is getting that so, like, your questions are so defined and you have space to write down different things, and like getting it printed into a notebook. So it's like, check this box, but then it's like, we already have that on our iPads, on our computers, where you're taking these pictures and you're getting it done. But creating your systems and making them most effective. I hope this episode was valuable, and we'll catch you on the next one.